China is warning students to stay away from Australia. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee, let's have a look at this article from news.com.au discussing China's Minister of Education has issued another warning to students wanting to study in Australia. Now, this is a huge concern for Australia. Let's just have a look at this chart from a previous article. You can see here overseas student fees compared to other income, and just look at how much of our biggest universities here in Australia are dependent on the overseas student gravy train. Of course, it goes down, but there you go. It makes a big chunk of their revenue. And for some of the students, considering what they're paying for and what they're getting, I kind of feel sorry for them, to be honest, at least from my university days. Quality's only gone down since then. So let's have a look at this article. China has launched a new attack on a struggling Australian sector. Citing a warning, it is further evidence of a poisoned relationship. Chinese students have again been warned against studying in Australia in a move that could worsen the already strained relationship with Beijing. State-owned media reported that China's Minister of Education on Friday told students to make a full risk assessment about studying in Australia following reports of racism and concerns about the pandemic in Australia. Seriously? Okay. It noted that a series of vicious attacks on Chinese students that have happened recently in multiple places in Australia have posed a serious threat to their personal safety, the Global Times wrote. The raging pandemic also makes international travel risky. Australian universities rely heavily on the Chinese, who make up the largest cohort of international students. And not only university. You have to understand, all the students that come over here, they pay for accommodation. They pay for food, they pay for services, they go out. Think of all of the restaurants that are going to cop it in our major cities near the universities. Think of all of the student accommodation that's going to be hit as well. We saw in previous articles we were looking at where academics were being laid off, and the business, what they'd invested in, personally, was in student accommodation. So the universities were having to cut courses and fire people, so the people didn't have any work. And then the investments that these people had invested in to diversify their income streams was simply tied to the same industry they're involved in. So, I mean, that's tough. It's tough to be in that situation. Beijing first cautioned students about racist incidents against Asians and the pandemic in June last year, in the midst of Australia's plans to allow international students to return to the country. However, the burgeoning number of Australian citizens wanting to return from overseas and restricted quarantine capacity has thrown a spanner in the works of returning plane loads of international students to campuses nationwide. The Global Times reported that the Education Department warning was evidence that Australia had poisoned the relationship with China. The Shanghai-based Australian scholar Chen Hong, who had his visa cancelled by Australian officials after an intelligence investigation, said the worsening discrimination problem that Chinese students face in Australia has reached an alarmingly high degree. The Australian government's continuous attacks against China, which have been echoed by the media, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic, has misguided the local Australian people to generate hostility towards the Chinese, he said. The Scanlon Social Cohesion study released this week found there was a relatively high level of negative opinion towards Asian Australians in 2020. 3 in 5 Chinese Australians responded that racism in Australia during the COVID-19 pandemic was a very big or fairly big problem. The UK and Canada have also been raised as alternatives for Chinese students wanting to study overseas, heightening concerns from Australian universities that they could lose their pre-pandemic share of the market. Well, it's a competitive market, everyone. The universities are going to cop it. And as we've seen, there's significant amount of funding that these universities have that's dependent on these students. What do you reckon, everyone? Well, the universities have a lot of fat. They've got a lot of money, they waste a lot of resources, they have a lot of people there that don't actually add value, that are more administrative. And they've got all these schemes to get people to come over here to study. They don't care about the education quality of the students. They'll rubber stamp a lot of them through. You know, they get chance after chance after chance to fail a subject. Some of them barely have any English skills. And they come over here and the universities just take advantage of them. Maybe it's the comeuppance the universities deserve. What do you reckon? Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. It looks like relations between Australia and China are just continuing to deteriorate. And, well, some of our industries are going to cop it. As always, thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe below. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I create here, there are a few ways you can support us. You can join the channel on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links from Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass, or PayPal. You can also support us using our SelfWealth link below, where you get 5 free share trades, and so do we. Take care. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.